Today on the Star Trek Critic, the next phase. Either the Romulans are experimenting with phase shifting, or Romulan is using this audition for her next phase of life on Deep Space Nine. The Enterprise is responding to a Romulan distress call. The first point is lost for Geordi and Ro having phasers, but not Worf the Chief of Security. Another point lost for them having phasers at all. Since they are at peace, they should have been locked away in an arms room. Riker says I number 1. Riker says we don't want them to think. He must be a liberal. Ro talks back to Riker. Either she has a headache today or is ad-libbing like her future character. 1 point lost for Riker yelling this line. He is on somebody else's ship, they don't work for him, and they don't really get along that well. There is no way a Starfleet replicator could recreate a Romulan engine core, so -1 point. 1 point lost since the console is at 2 different levels. 1 point lost since the piece of equipment isn't with them in the transporter. 1 point lost since they are farther apart. Brosmer says I number 2, then quotes Riker. She is auditioning for the chief engineer part on Deep Space Nine, thinking, haha, I'll show everyone I'm better at the transporter than Chief O'Brien. But then she loses 2 people. Something tells me she won't get the part. Picard is standing Riker maneuver style. 1 point lost for Riker saying chief before he taps his comm badge. 1 point lost for Deanna in a catsuit. 1 point lost since Deanna has no lines in this show. She is so pissed about it she won't even go to their funeral. Data says I number 3. Picard says switch to shuttles only for this mission. McDowell says I number 4. The ensign does not say I number 5. She doesn't get any lines because she is a woman. That's sexist. Mirok says the pressure has increased 2 millicols. Riker is thinking, what's a millicol? I'll just pretend I know what he's talking about right now. 1 point lost for opening credits 6 minutes into the show. The way it is explained here, this section is sealed off from the rest of the ship and the bridge. Most likely their communications are completely out, and beaming into other sections is a bad idea right now. 1 point is lost for not beaming emergency radios into the other areas. This glass looks extremely thick. Riker says he will have to do it manually. That's disgusting, he should wait until he gets back to his quarters. 1 point lost for this fake heavy beam stuck in a place where it would never fall. Worf does Picard maneuver number 1. This scene is just 3 double hernias waiting to happen. Data shows up and says, I'm stronger than all 3 of you little pansy asses put together. And 1 point lost for that whole stuck door sequence. 1 point lost for not contacting the Romulans themselves for a rescue ship. 1 point lost for not scanning for a rescue ship. If a Romulan rescue ship isn't coming, that's a sign this ship is doing something illegal. McDowell says I number 5 it's time for a drink.
We are the troops of the king, yes we are, and we always drink the one thing.
1 point lost for Picard looking at Ro. 1 point lost for a single set of doors on the turbolift. 1 point lost for Ro reflecting. This guy is walking really funny. 1 point lost for this poor woman on an examination table in the middle of sickbay for all to see. 1 point lost for Ro surviving a transporter accident. 1 point lost, if Ro is phased, she should only be able to breathe phased oxygen. Ro realizes she is invisible. 1 point lost for only saying she is from Bajor. I'm from Earth myself. The power flow is at 400 coulombs. Riker is thinking, what's a coulomb? I'll just smile and nod like I know what that means. Data wants to plan the memorial. Worf complains the Romulans want a computer. 1 point lost since a Federation computer wouldn't work on Romulan technology. Riker says give them an old one. Worf says I number 6 and thank you, since usually they ignore the Chief of Security. Ro finds Geordi in engineering. Both of them are reflecting so -1 point. She tells Geordi they are ghosts. Geordi complains that he always wanted to be a naked ghost with real eyes. They see if they are solid and both are thinking, hey, we can have sex anywhere on the ship and no one will see. Usually engineering is deserted, but the producers wanted the extras to go out of their way to not see them. Ro believes she should say goodbye to everyone. Geordi wants to be alive again. Rose says who are in our lives, that's bad Englishes. Brosmer says don't panic. I was on the island. I know where you can get replacements. The next point is lost since Brosmer should be more traumatized right now. 2 people died during transport while she was operating it. She is way too happy. And 1 point lost since this would have been a great time for Counselor Troi to do her actual job. Hollywood had a perfect opportunity to cover military trauma, and they missed it like they always do. The chronotin particles might be safe for humans, but could be harmful to Data. 1 point lost since Data didn't think about that. Both Geordi and Ro now realize how important it is for extras to be wandering around all day. And that says Deck 10 on the bridge -1 point. But -1 point since they should be able to go through the floor as well. Ro comes to say goodbye and is thinking, damn, who are all these people? They already replaced us. 1 point lost since her hand should go through the panel. Riker is one step behind Picard like the little ass kisser that he is. Riker wants to say some things about Ro. Hopefully not about that time she jumped him. Geordi says they need to go back to the Romulan ship. Ro says have the left fielder go instead. This is Data and Worf's second trip to the Romulan ship. The stars are moving, now they are not, -1 point. A visible mic, 1 point lost. This display is not moving, 1 point lost. This is a great conversation between Data and Worf. 1 point lost since even Data can't analyze 5,000 cultures in such a short time. Worf explains the human and Bajoran rituals. What is really sad is that Data was about 26 years old when he met Geordi. He went a long time without a best friend. Then Worf's speech about Geordi is rather touching. The Klingon perspective of dying while on duty is a great honor. And when did Data get the time to arrange the ceremony? He has been too busy for that, so -1 point. I hope there isn't a body in that box. 1 point lost since this Romulan should fall through the chair. Data android explains to the Romulans about the radiation. They think he knows too much. Geordi sticks his head in the machine and notices it looks like the phase cloak technology the Klingons were messing around with. Ironically, the Federation beat them all to it, but Riker won't tell. Geordi says it's a bad idea, almost as bad as the narrator using an AI-generated voice. The Romulans just happen to mention the muon feedback wave that will destroy the Enterprise and that nosy android. And right in front of Ro and Geordi, Mirak and Varel take off for some celebration sex. Geordi and Ro decide they need to go back to the Enterprise and warn them. Now you learn this guy is phase 2. 1 point lost since you don't know how or when this Romulan got to the Enterprise. Brosmer says number 7. The director told Brosmer, to simulate Geordi being phased, just ignore him like you did your ex-husband. Acting problem solved. Geordi makes the connection about the chronotin waves and blames the left fielder. But 1 point lost for not creating a readable pattern for Data, like a simple Morse code SOS. Ro decides that when a Romulan is aiming a phaser at her, the correct response is to sing her favorite Who song. Geordi realizes the Anyons will de-phase him. Ro is thinking, that's odd, the extras are walking on the side like they can see us. Ensign Ro does the old attack the Romulan right when you go through the door trick. Yes! The chase begins. Here is a beautiful blonde only wearing a towel. Even running for her life, Ro took a second to turn around and think, damn, she's hot. The Romulan ran right on by without stopping. He must be gay. Data loses a point for holding his tricorder out just for Geordi to see. This man will have some back pain since they just ran over him. 1 point is lost, Ro is phased, so the planner wouldn't move. Just a reminder, never spoon-feed anyone over the age of 2, it just looks icky. 1 point lost for Data moving out of Geordi's way. Geordi knocks the Romulan out into space and does Picard maneuver too. A male came to the rescue of a female. That's sexist. Up on the bridge, Picard and Mirak try to see how far they stick their noses up the other's ass. I think Picard won. They really don't say how much time has passed since the fight. That is actually good directing. Since Geordi and Ro are phased, everything will be little off-kilter for them, including time passing. In the turbolift, you learn Picard hired Geordi because he was a little ass-kisser too. Riker says he will tell everyone how good Ro was in the sack. No wonder Deanna refused to go to the service. Data has chosen the memorial will celebrate their lives. 1 point is lost for Deanna not attending. 1 point lost since Riker is obviously not playing the trombone. Shout out to Ro shooting Riker. Brosmer says number 8. To simulate experiencing the Anyan waves, the director told them to imagine being really constipated with a really big poop. I got the impression Worf saw something but wasn't sure what it was. 1 point lost here, the blast is phased. It would go through the couch and kill them, and 1 point lost here since the balloons moved. Data and Picard figure it out. Have you ever noticed on Star Trek, they never figure anything out until the end of the episode? Brosmer says number 9. Geordi tells engineering to take the engines offline and saves them all, and you thought only Wesley could save the day. Engineering says number 10 it's time to celebrate.
We like to drink, 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 drink.
Geordi is eating everything. He hasn't eaten for 2 days, which makes you wonder, when did they go to the bathroom, and how? Ro experienced a life-changing moment, reminding of her roots in religion and brush with death. This would be a good time to see Counselor Troy, but she never gets to do her job. Geordi says, well, maybe we should create an interphase device. Maybe he should talk to Riker about the Pegasus. Brian Cousins will be back next year. He was also on Enterprise, Babylon 5, and 60 more. Kenneth Meserole was on The X-Files, Mad Men, and 40 more. Thomas Kopache will be back in 2 years and Generations. Voyager, Deep Space Nine, Enterprise, and 140 non-Trek credits. Shelby Leverington has 50 screen credits, including Tales from the Crypt, Matlock, and The Twilight Zone. Susanna Thompson will be back next year, as well as Deep Space Nine, and of course the Borg Queen on Voyager, and 50 more the next phase. A great show that lost a lot of points, gets a score of 54. Be sure to leave comments below, click the like button, the share button, and the subscribe button, and come back soon for the Inner Light.